Wellington is the venue for the 1996 Jubilee Cup final between Poneke and Western Suburbs. We're just moments away from a start in what, John Morrison, we're looking forward to the culmination of a wonderful 96 season.
Yes, too right. It's always a great occasion, the final of club rugby. It's got so much tradition attached to it, so many great players of the past, and I've no doubt this will be similar, Ken. We're all set.
The Poneke team just released before kickoff. John Jackson is at fullback. Moananu and Ropeti, Tuiavi and Lokini make up the outside backs. Ogden and Graham Young, the halves. Savaleo, Makua and Vakalaloma, the loose forwards. Henderson, the captain, Richard Watt are the locks. And a very big front row of Hemi Tui, Richard Tuhaka and Jonathan Tanner. And for Western Suburbs, Toby Robson is at fullback. Shane Tiatia, Steve Skinner are on the wings. Mark Fatialofa, Dwayne Russell are in midfield. Scott Layton and Akui, the halves. Philo Tiatia, who's having a wonderful year. Semi Afet and Hemi Po, the loose forwards. Reihana and Dun Shea, the locks. Proctor, Carter and Penasini, the front row. And Phil Proctor, the captain. And he's been a valuable acquisition for West since coming across from Petone, John.
Yes, he certainly has, and the two sides you just read out, Ken, we'll see in a moment on Athletic Park. Very evenly matched sides, but two very good forward packs. I think the forward clash will be very interesting. Some very enterprising backs as well, but I think it's going to be won and lost in the forwards, Ken.
The Western Suburbs team, 10 wins, 1 loss, 40 points, finished in second position for the Swindale Shield this year and comfortably qualifying for the Jubilee Cup. They were 5 wins and 2 losses in the Jubilee Cup round robin, and they beat Avalon last week 16 points to 8.
And it's very good to see the kids too, and I think the junior clubs contribute so much to the senior clubs, keep right through the grades. So they're along. The Poneke, of course, wonderful record they've had over many, many years in Wellington. West's an amalgamation of the old Onslow and Athletic and Karori clubs, now based at Ian Galloway Park, which is quite a change for them, but to get up and be in this final is a very good effort indeed. But they've got a good side. They've got a very good chance here today.
Poneke in the Swindale Shield, they were 5 wins and 6 losses, 22 points, and just scrambled in to the Jubilee Cup round. And once qualifying for the Jubilee Cup, they have been on fire in the last 7 weeks. 6 wins and a draw, finished 24 points in first position, and they were very commanding form, beating Harlequins 23-13 last week in their semi-final.
Yes, so we're all set here. Steve Walsh is the referee. West's with this northerly wind coming down the Athletic Park. Very rare that we don't get a wind at Athletic Park. It's part of the culture here. But a great occasion and good to see the final on Athletic Park, as it's been for so many years.
Yes, it's been a wonderful add-on, the introduction of semi-finals and playoffs. Those of us, John Morrison and my age, can remember the days where it was just the round robin and the winner of the round robin took it out. Now we have post-season play with semis and finals, and that has created in itself a wonderful occasion such as this one.
Certainly has, Ken. I think it's the logical way to go, although there were some great games. And I think those who did the draw in years past, I remember when my father used to take me along in the 50s, the great era of Petone and Victoria University with Ron Jardin and Bill Clark and Mick Bremner and company.
Yeah, the great Petone club, who really have had a mortgage on the Jubilee Cup since its inception, had the tough season of having to end up playing in the Hardham Cup, where they scored 678 points and thrashing everybody in their first visit to the Hardham Cup for many, many years, as Western Suburbs with pretty good field position, and Skinner coming from the left wing looking for work, hit high, ball and all by the Poneke defence. As the Western Suburbs players get there in numbers and do enough to win the feed at the scrum, good field position.
Excellent. Good start for West, and the field position is going to be vital here. They've got the win, so they must use it. But we're going to see the first scrum, Ken, which will be interesting to see how these two front rows match up.
It's a good opportunity. Star Akui, the halfback, and a free kick. Steve Walsh, one of our experienced and most respected referees. And John Jackson pushing up the right-hand lane in front of the old stand here at Athletic Park, which is getting very close to being usurped by a wonderful new stadium planned for somewhere down the rail yards.
Yes, and I gather that Athletic Park's being planned as an old man's home, which no doubt many players of the past. So we may be back there, Ken.
In that case, we might as well stay here, mate. Cedric Carter looking for Hemi Poe, and you would expect with Alice Meacham coaching Western Suburbs that they would be very well organised and well drilled in the forward exchanges. And with Poneke led by an experienced group of players, that they would certainly be up for the challenge.
Yes, I think we're going to see a real arm wrestle here, and Richard Watt, great stalwart of Poneke, and he's the man with the sleeves rolled up just about to the shoulder, but an opportunity for West to open the scoring with this penalty.
Phil Proctor, who was the captain, indicating to Steve Walsh that they were going to take the shot at goal. Scotty Layton, out of Wellington College originally, very young and very talented player. Right foot around the corner and just drops it short. And the Poneke captain, Richard Watt, takes the mark. Gets a defender at the same time. And John Jackson from his own line. And that's pretty good improvement in terms of field position. Pushes it about 24 out.
Well, a disappointing kick from Scott Layton. He just didn't strike it at all well, and Richard Watt showed that he's taking no prisoners as always, and a little reminder to the Wests boys. But yeah, good clearance for Poneke, and no doubt in this first half they'll just plug up into the breeze, try and restrict West, then turn around and hopefully lift their game from there.
Tia jumping at 2. Greyhana jumping at 4. It's loose, onto it quickly. Tuhaka. He's had a very good season, Richard Tuhaka, for Poneke. He's been very strong carrying the ball. He's an aggressive defender, an aggressive runner, and a very good scrummager.
It's difficult to ascertain who's looking the stronger at the moment in these early days, but I think we're going to have a tight one here, Ken.
Yeah, Graham Young inside their own half. Ogden forced to step off his right foot. He's taken late. Cheap shot. And Steve Walsh. It's Skinnan. No, I'm sorry. In fact, it's Semi Yafeta, the open side flanker for West.
Yes, he telegraphed it a bit, didn't he? And he was well late, so Steve Walsh made the right decision. But I suppose there's still the aspect of unsettling the first 5-8 a little bit and reminding them that I'm number 7 and I'll be back.
Ogden, well, it's a great part of the contest. 7 trying to get the 10 and the 10 trying to stay away from the 7. And a victory in terms of field position. Poneke with the quick throw. Watt jumping at 2 in the line out. Now the drive coming. Shane McClure joining at the back. Hemi Tui working hard. Now Graham Young in good position. The ball is slow coming back for Poneke. Now Ogden. A cut-out ball in midfield for Tuiaviti going forward. And Steve Walsh has got West for being offside.
Yeah, Poneke looking good in the lineouts. I suppose with the wind blowing the way it is, it does tend to blow the ball a little more down your line than the other line. But Wests haven't got themselves organised as yet. But opportunity now for Poneke.
So Ogden, their first visit to the Western Suburbs half. And he's about 33 metres out, right foot round the corner. That's a very, very important kick, and 3 points to get the score underway.
He struck that one well, didn't he? So Poneke, they deserved that. They plugged up that sideline and controlled a couple of line-outs, also a couple of rucks and mauls. So they crept into that good field position, and Ogden's cashed in. So good start for Poneke.
West, they've had all the field position and all of the ball, and they trail by 3 with plenty of time for things to unfold, and inside their own half again. Poneke coming up with the ball, so a defensive scrum.
Yes, Poneke can be well pleased with their defence to date, but I suppose from West's point of view, just getting messy ball. We haven't seen anything like an organised back movement as yet.
So Young back for Ogden on the right foot. Again, pushing up that right-hand channel, improving their field position. It's the 10-metre line in the centre of your screen. Hemi Poe jumping at 2 in the line. There's an untidy ball. Pressure on Dwayne Russell, standing at first receiver. So some good hustle and bustle in defence by Poneke. Now coming away with the ball is Ropeti. Ball slow coming back. Watt hits the ball up over the 10-metre line on western suburb side of halfway now and earns the penalty.
Gee, West are going to have to do better than that, clearing from their line out. That's one of the great hospital passes arriving as a couple of flankers arrived. Now Poneke have taken full toll, and here's another opportunity from the 10-metre mark. And Ogden, he kicked so well first up, so no reason why he can't get this one.
A few metres back, but in a very similar position. They lead by 3 points to 0, Poneke, in the 1996 Jubilee Cup final at Athletic Park, the traditional home of rugby, and a great occasion opportunity for these players. One, to play in a ground that's shortly to close in a few years' time, John, and also the opportunity to play in a final. Absolutely,
it's steeped in history, and I think although the dressing rooms and under the stand gets a bit of stick here because of its state of affairs, still it's been walked by many great players over many, many years. So for club players to come and play at Athletic Park, it is a great occasion. Also a great occasion to represent your club in the final, and I think that's the goal, of course, of every club side, and these two have got the opportunity here today.
So Ogden, we're just into our first year of professional rugby at Ogden. He's a long way out, and it's short to mark claimed by Mark Fatialofa. Taps it to himself and tries to improve their field position.
Gee, didn't strike that so well, did he? And it was noticeable that wind held it up and dropped well short. So West's able to clear.
So full line out, Tuhaka, Henderson and Dunshay at the front. Tuhaka goes over the back. Was looking for what, but it's loose. Arkoi now, Filo Tiatia, hard and strong at the Poneke defence over the advantage line. Good metres gained, and Tuhaka's going to be penalised.
Well, he's a big man, Filo Tiatia, and although it was a messy line out again, West were a little lucky that the ball bounced in the right direction. Filo Tiatia was right there to snap it up and show his physical presence. So opportunity for Scotty Layton here. Straight out in front, but a fair distance out.
So short again, he's got the benefit of a slight wind. John Jackson has a look left and right, and Poneke back to the 22 for the restart.
Another disappointing kick. I think Scott Layton would have expected, with the assistance of the wind, to get the distance, but his two kicks today have been badly timed and dropped well short.
Ogden with the restart. Tiatia gets it back. It's untidy. Hemi Poe can't take it. Richard Watt onto the ball quickly. Poneke, now they go to work. This is good play from the Poneke forwards. Good metres. Tuhaka with the pick and go. Tiatia with an aggressive hit. Graham Young has got a player available short, gives it to Ogden. Big men from Poneke, happy to just play close to the ruck and maul and inch their way forward.
Yes, I think that's the tactic, and it's been pretty familiar for Poneke over many, many years. They've got a wonderful history, of course, the club, and one of the oldest clubs in Wellington as well. And really in recent years have regrouped and gained any impetus they may have lost for a few years. Some very good leaders, good administrators based at Kilburney Park.
And West, of course, 13 years old, 1983, their first year. And now Arkoi onto a loose ball. So it's a very torrid contest. It's an arm wrestle between the two packs.
Yeah, it's close to the ruck stuff, but I suppose that's very predictable with these two sides. haven't seen any back movements to date. In fact, it struggled to get past the first 5-8.
So Vakalaloma, Hemi Po, the blindside flankers on this side. Peter Savaleo gets on the inside of Philo Tete as tackle now. Young back for Ogden. Across to Nanu, working hard on that right-hand side. Still just inside their own half. Poneke. West get numbers there first. They should have done enough to earn the feed at the scrum, and they have.
Yes, you could question that back line movement, I suppose, because it's very debatable whether they got to the advantage line, Ken. And also, Mornanu was caught very high, so unable to get the ball down. And the turnover has come, giving West an opportunity with the ball.
They were the best defensive team in the Jubilee Cup this year, Western Suburbs. And Poneke, the second best attacking team. So really a contest between the top defensive and top attacking sides in this year's competition, as Star Arkoi feeds coming back on the Poneke side. And Steve Walsh says that the scrum shifted enough. So from a defensive situation, Poneke potentially now can change to attack.
Yeah, very good work by the Poneke forwards. I think some of the West personnel might argue about that decision, but of course refs don't change their minds, so it's Poneke put in. Their forwards are performing very well, Poneke. They seem to be keeping West very much at bay.
Plenty of power in the two front rows, John.
Certainly is. There's some big units there, all right, aren't there? And as you said earlier in the commentary, Phil Proctor coming across to West stiffens them up a little bit.
And the captain, tight forward for West, Phil Proctor, and a tight forward for Poneke. What as West go wide, Fatia Lofa in the hole. He's got players on the outside, just a draw and pass, a long ball out to the right. And a Shane Tiatia to score the first try in the 96 Jubilee Cup final. And a very, very important one as well, as Western Suburbs dominate a position and possession and finally get the first points.
Yes, good try, and I don't think Poneke will be happy with their defence. Then suddenly opened up, and Fatia Lofa saw the gap, moved through, had great support on the outside. In fact, it was a 3-1 situation. So the first try of the game, and the lead swings to West. The kick was missed by Scotty Layton, but a very good try, and that'll be a real confidence booster for West.
That will be a concern with the goal kicking situation. That's no joy from 3 attempts for Scotty Layton. So that's a potential 8 points. They lead now by 5 points to 3, but in these tight games, every point counts.
It's a lot to go begging, isn't it, in the context of a 5-3 match. Scotty Layton, as I said earlier, just doesn't seem to be timing the ball well. That was around about midway goalpost and sideline, corner flag, and he was a mile off.
Set play from West, involving Tiatia and Arkoi, and just went wrong, and Poneke put themselves under pressure, not kicking the ball 10 from the restart.
Yes, it's not a good idea, that, is it? It's one of the basics of the game. Obviously, you want to get your forwards underneath it, but you can't cut it too finely. However, they've got the opportunity and the ball back.
Graham Young with the feed. Peter Savaleo holds. Good scrum from Poneke. Now the front rows go down. Got options left and right. And able to maintain some momentum going forward. And Steve Walsh indicating that Poneke have done enough to retain possession at the scrum reset.
Well, I think they would have been fairly hardly done by Ken had he ruled that the scrum had actually swiveled to a degree which would give the ball to West, because West just about disappeared from the scrum, and Poneke probably went 6, 7, 8, 9 metres with a pretty good forward effort.
The two outstanding halfbacks in the 96 season, Arkoi and Young, and Peter Savaleo off the back and down the short side, picks up a couple of metres over the advantage line, now wins a penalty. Good play, Poneke.
It's good tight stuff, isn't it? They're driving up, they're keeping the ball close, Poneke, into this breeze, and again they've got the advantage out of this. This will be frustrating, Wests, because apart from that try that they scored, which was almost against the run of play in terms of what we've seen, West haven't seen much of the ball.
Poneke opting to keep the ball close to their big men. Good strong carry from Tanner. Graham Young waits. Hemi Po working hard in defence to wrestle the ball back for Western Suburbs. It's slow and on the ground. Graham Young appealing for a penalty. So McClure goes to halfback, drops the ball onto the right foot. The kick's untidy. Claimed by West.
Yes, it was a chapter of accidents there, and again, Poneke have come up with the put-in. A little bit messy, but it's good final stuff. No quarter asked, no quarter given.
Great atmosphere here at Athletic Park, and the build-up was wonderful with the march past, and the kids all just confirming. There's John Jackson down the right-hand side, tries to get a ball away for Mornanu on the right wing, and it's untidy. Now West with the throw at the line out. It's been won by Poneke. Tuhaka.
Gee, they're driving well here, Ken, this Poneke forward pack.
Good momentum going forward now. Young for Ogden. Puts the ball on the inside. Big tackle. And a very, very good defensive play from Western Suburbs. And I think it's Yafeta, the open side flanker, with a great hit.
Yeah, it stopped stone dead. That moved, didn't it? So it's a good defence. And he's gone for the wide open spaces with the breeze. Way down in the 22 of Poneke, cleared there by Jackson. And good gain for West because they get the put into the line out.
Cedric Carter. Yes, the atmosphere and the build-up to this game, the culmination of the 96 club season, has been wonderful. Leighton, Dwayne Russell, dummies to pass on the inside, goes through a half gap. Can't pick up Toby Robson, the ball is loose. John Jackson up in defence to try to tidy up.
Gee, that was an opportunity going begging, Ken. Toby Robson coming in at pace, but just couldn't pick the pass up. Nice break by Dwayne Russell. He glided through the gap beautifully.
So Poneke find themselves again in their own half, playing against the breeze. Looking for Richard Watt jumping in the middle of the lineup, coming out on the Western Suburbs side. And a free kick to Poneke.
Yeah, they look a little frustrated, West. That's silly stuff, actually. They didn't give the ball back, so they're penalised a further 10 metres.
Now the quick tap. Hemi Tui gets some tough metres going forward over the 10-metre line. Now Ogden. Another play in midfield between Ropeti and Tuiavi'i. Young has a look down the blind side, gives off a short ball for Mornanu. He drops it onto the right foot along the ground, keeps it in the field of play, forcing Robson to make a decision. Tries to get some metres on the return. More hustle coming from Poneke. Have got West inside their own half. Akui looking for some space. John Jackson. The catch, the left foot step, now the pass. Good play from Poneke. Now coming hard, Lokeni on the left wing. His first touch of the ball in the 96 final now. Tuhaka. Cedric Carter tries to put a play on him in defence. Ball slow coming back on the Poneke side, and now the scrum. Good attack and counter-attack.
Absolutely, and West playing for position as you'd expect with this win, but Poneke, good move up there and plenty of forward power. Their front row is Hemi Tui. He's a very significant sort of a fellow, imposing himself, and Poneke win the scrum opportunity.
Young for Ogden. Dummies on the inside, gives it to Lokeni again, his second carry in consecutive plays. So Poneke been under all sorts of pressure, John, have coming back into it.
Yes, they are. Well, I think they played very well in the forwards because they've really ground up Athletic Park. Not easy against the wind at Athletic Park. It's always a challenge, but an opportunity here for Ogden to add further points.
Kicking against the wind, a mark taken by Western Suburbs. Goal kicking a bit of a problem. Leighton, no joy from 3 attempts. James Ogden, 1 from 3. So Richard Watt on the quick throw. Dummies, it doesn't beat anybody. Gets hit on the advantage line by the arriving West defenders.
I think it was a fair bet that Richard Watt was never going to pass that, and the defenders obviously felt the same way, but he's won a penalty here for his side. In fact, he's got a bit of a kick in the back for his troubles, but I don't think that'll worry him. He gets up, takes his position again.
Tanner, Tuhaka, Tui, Penasini, Carter, Proctor. Been a good battle now. Tanner been prominent carrying the ball. Gee, they use their front row as well to get their position started early. Poneke trying to get some momentum. In a tough way to play, keeping the ball close, committing big numbers to the ruck and maul area, trying to pick up metres on the drive. Now Young back for Ogden. Again, up another play in midfield. On the outside was Ropeti for Poneke, and Monanu coming from the wing, couldn't pick him up.
Yeah, an opportunity there for Poneke, just couldn't get the pass away. But really the dominant factor in this half, to my mind, Ken, has been the Poneke forwards and their ability to make yards and retain possession. It's been a good effort into the wind.
Watt and Henderson, the locks, Dunshay and Rayhana, are very evenly matched packs. Young down the blind again, catch and pass for John Jackson, showing a bit of skill. Monanu tries the left foot step. A bit of variation to their play. Now Young under some pressure from Hemi Poe. And ruled to be got forward by West, so it's a Poneke feed. Savaleo holds at the back.
That West scrum really is under pressure. That Poneke front row are asserting themselves very well here. They win the opportunity for a further scrum. But Poneke forwards the dominant factor at the moment.
They certainly were. Well, the West forwards on the west side are totally dominant in the Swindale Shield. The Poneke team totally dominant in the Jubilee Cup. The two top attacking and defensive sides, or two of the top three sides on display, and appropriately these two in the final. Savaleo down a short blind side, just over the advantage line. It's split, but the Poneke forwards do well. They've got the ball up on their feet, working it back. Richard Watt. Tough metres going forward. That's the 22-metre area. Now Young for Ogden. Dummies to pass. Gets hit ball and all by Dwayne Russell. And behind the advantage line, Russell steals the ball. Good defensive play from Western Suburbs. Now Robson trying to get away from the cover defence. Throws the ball on the inside. There's a flag from the touch judge.
Well, good counter-attacking by Wests, and good defensive work, because Ogden was caught well behind the advantage line, so it really did put the Poneke defence under pressure. And Russell not only caught Ogden, but he got the ball away. So they just ran out of room, really. The attack tended to go sideways, and Toby Robson forced out.
So on the halfway, full line out. Tuhaka throwing for Henderson, jumping at 2. Now Poneke with the drive, under control. Tuhaka breaks away down the short side, supported by Henderson. Now Tanner arrives. Young gives a short ball for Peter Savaleo. Hemutui in there lending a bit of support. Now Tanner joins as well. Henderson. Good play from Poneke. Ogden through the backs. John Jackson from fullback tries to get outside Mark Fatialofa. Monanu continues to play, but it's loosened on the ground. James Ogden back. Goes between his legs. Trouble now for Poneke as Wests arrive in numbers and fight for the ball.
Well, the Poneke forwards mightn't be too happy about that. The back's making a bit of a mess of it at the end of that play, but Wests, they really are just scavenging for the ball. Wests, they haven't won much set piece. Here's an opportunity for them from the scrum.
Arkui, Leighton, Dwayne Russell runs over the top of Ogden, runs past a couple of defenders, now tries to step on Monanu. Cover defence, a desperate tackle. John Jackson involved, the ball loose out to the left-hand side, but there's a whistle. Gee, Western Suburbs, they were a big chance.
Oh, yes, it seemed to be. It was all over bar the shouting, Ken, but wonderful defensive work from Poneke, how they got back there. Dwayne Russell just seemed to waltz through the defence in the early stages, but a chance gone big. I'm sure that's how West will look at that.
Pressure scrum for Poneke. Spent almost the entire half inside their own half. John Jackson comfortably off the right boot, improves the field position.
Yes, Poneke have gone to their forwards. Every time they've gone to their backs, although there's been one or two good runs, that's quite rare that they've got over the advantage line, so one can well imagine why they're keeping it in the forwards when they can.
So time ticks away to the end of the first half. Cedric Carter looking for Hemi Poe, jumping at 4. Now Leighton gets a short ball. Fatia Lofa in midfield. Shows, goes, and then hit just behind the advantage line by the Poneke defence. And loses the ball.
Yeah, that's bad news for West, isn't it? A wonderful attacking position, had the ball, and Poneke forwards held him up. So the turnover, and Poneke have a chance to sneak out of trouble.
Graham Young. Philo Tietia on your left. An outstanding player.
He's a big unit, isn't he? Philo Tietia.
Peter Savaleo, the number 8 for Poneke. Shane McClure and Vakalaloma. Not a big back three height-wise. In fact, West have got them for size, but a hard-working trio, John.
Absolutely, and they've been very well supported. Well, they've been supporting their tight forwards, who've done particularly well in this first half to date. Frustrating half for West. They've had a couple of opportunities where they've broken Poneke wide open, but they just haven't been able to finish. But a real tight contest, as you'd expect in a final.
Yeah, well, we all know a lot of great players who never had the chance to play in a final and would dearly love to have. Poneke, good play from Poneke off a West throw, and some good powerful running from Tuhaka. This is the form that he's been in 1996. Richard Tuhaka, very powerful carrier of the ball. And again he goes, you've been busy, Tuhaka.
Oh, wonderful work from Tuhaka. That was a magnificent run. He must have beaten 5 or 6 players.
Ogden goes left and right, offloads to Richard Watt. He's caught behind the advantage line. West have got numbers, but Poneke win it. John Jackson at first receiver. Again, pushing up that right-hand lane. He's made some big decisions and some big plays, John Jackson, to get Poneke out of trouble.
Well, that was a very good kick by Jackson. Beautifully weighted and angled. But Tuhaka in that movement twice and dominating with the ball in hand. So good performance from the hooker.
Well, in recent years, we're starting to see hookers more and more, John, carrying the ball and making meters.
Yes, the old days, you never saw them. They weren't meant to be out and about running, but he's also doing the tight work very well.
So Hemi Poe arriving at 2 in the line out late and getting the ball. Now Leighton pushing down at their left-hand touch and out on the full. So big play for Poneke.
Oh, dear oh me, from West's point of view, the frustration continues. Leighton looking for field position there, but overcooking it.
Richard Watt jumping at 2 in a short line out. Now Ogden. Apologise for the quality of these pictures. Now cameraman feeling the pressure of the final, John.
Yes. Well, it's nervous times in a final, and not quite sure whether he's a Poneke or a West supporter, but however, it's a Poneke scrum, and they really have won most of the opportunities at the set pieces, Poneke. And West, I think when they go to the sheds at half time, we'll discuss how to tidy things up a bit and be a little more organised.
5 points to 3 in this beautiful old stand with so much history and so much of a legacy for club rugby, provincial rugby and international rugby at this ground and that stand.
And there's been some great players run out through that main gateway there, or door.
Mornanu, beautiful left foot step to get away from the tackle of Star Akui. Just on the advantage line, Poneke arrive in numbers. West working hard to try and get the ball and have done enough to win the feed at the scrum.
Yes, very close to the half time, as you saw on the big scoreboard there. But West, I think, will be a little frustrated from this half. 5-3 ahead, and they really haven't got clean ball.
Loose ball, McClure onto it quickly for Poneke. Savaleo offloading for Richard Watt. Can't do much with a couple of defenders there from Poneke. Should I say from West. Poneke in very good position. And the use it or lose it applied against Poneke.
Yeah, good effort by the West's defence, holding Richard Watt up there.
So Scotty Leighton standing inside its 22, kicks it long and out. And it's a very good gain in terms of metres.
Yeah, which they should get really, and just a moment or so ago we saw Scotty Layton kick it out in the full, but of course behind the 22 on that occasion. So down to the Poneke 10-metre mark.
So Poneke forced to work inside their own half and against the breeze that comes and goes but stays blowing the same way. And this time looked as if it was going down the west side, came down the Poneke side. They have it under control. Well, they did. They've lost it. Yafeta goes to the ground and the tackle of Shane McClure. Now Leighton standing still. Russell with a wraparound. Leighton gets it back looking for Robson, trying to push off a tackle from Ropeni. Now Leighton tried to stay on his feet while the players arrived. Akoi, Dwayne Russell, Mark Fatialofa goes to the ground, loses the ball. Poneke come away with it.
Yeah, lost opportunity there for West, and a knock on to boot. So that's a good effort by Poneke's defence. And really, it's one of the few occasions we've seen the ball along the West's backline. Although they have looked dangerous whenever they've managed to get it there, they just haven't got it there often enough.
Just the one try in the game, and a spectacular one it was as well. Shane Tiatia for West, and James Ogden, one success from 3 attempts and a penalty for West, who had a wonderful Swindale Shield competition to lead 5 points to 3 at the close of this, the first half of the 96 Jubilee Cup final. Now Poneke again using their big men, picking and going, hitting the ball forwards. West player offside. There's the advantage.
Well, one or two of the West supporters getting excited in the background there, but hasn't made much difference. So that's it for the first half, Ken.
That's it with Western Suburbs. They head by 5 points to 3. Now their turn to play into the wind. And James Ogden and this very experienced Poneke outfit will be content to park themselves in that left-hand corner, John.
Yes, they will. They'll be pretty keen, and they've done well in the first half. Just 2 points down with that 5-3 scoreboard, and West will have to tidy up and stiffen up in the forwards if they're going to make a good contest of this.
Tia carrying very strongly from the kickoff for Western Suburbs.
These Western Suburbs always look capable if they get things organised, but I'm sure at half-time they discussed the fact that they weren't that organised. The ball was very messy for them. Poneke, on the other hand, their forwards drove well into the wind, and now they've got that opportunity from good field position to try and get some points on the board.
So the ball loose. Ellis Meacham, the coach in charge of Western Suburbs, a young coach and of course a former player at the athletic club as well, and his playing career curtailed by a significant knee injury, and into the coaching ranks quite early, and a former Poneke midfielder and outside back Steve Hatarini in charge of Poneke. As Ogden going for the midfield bomb. It's high, it's in the air a long time, plenty of time for Poneke to get some chases, but taken well by West.
Yes, that was a good take, and West have won it here. A slightly strange looking run from the halfback, and he's caught in possession.
Good hustling by Young on Akoi. Caught him 3 or 4 metres behind the advantage line. Now they've won the feed at the scrum.
Yeah, that's the perfect result from Poneke's point of view. Wonderful attacking position here early in the second half. And the nature of the game would change if Poneke can get points on the board. It's going to be a battle for West into the wind.
So great attacking opportunity. In the 22-metre, Savalua holds. Now Young back for Ogden. Thinks about a drop kick in pretty good position. Hits the post. Toby Robson gets it on the half volley. Scrambled the ball out. Poneke will get the throw in the line out.
That's not a bad result from Poneke's point of view. From, I suppose, hitting the post, frustrating in the sense that you're so close. But Toby Robson, that was off the side of the boot, and he's only cleared it from about 10 metres out from the goal line. So Poneke ball and a wonderful opportunity.
Richard Watt gets a hand on it, jumping towards the front of the line out. Shane McClure tidied it up, and then they concede the penalty, so Western Suburbs will be very keen to get out of their own quarter.
They certainly will be, and it's a real slog for Wests here. It looks like we've got Steve Walsh with a few messages for the players, and we've got a touch judge in.
Well, it's an important game, tough game, and the reflection of the significance is that some of these contests, particularly between the big men, is going to be pretty intense.
Yes, it's hard to imagine, and rather foolish to imagine that one or two tempers or dispositions may be a little upset, but that's the nature of the game. It is a competition. It's a confrontation between fit, strong young men. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, certainly with Poneke, a great history and a great legacy. And of course, Athletic and Onslow, which were the two senior clubs in that amalgamation, along with Karori, with a very rich and proud history as well. Leighton, inside the own 20, improves the position.
Yes, and many people, of course, have debated. It's the old argument about amalgamation, whether it works or whether it doesn't. But nonetheless, as you say, coming from Athletic, some wonderful wins to them over many years, and a sadly missed side. The old blue and black hoops and the Onslow red and green hoops are no more in the senior competition, and they embrace the French look.
I don't know whether there's a metaphor in there.
I'm not quite sure what I'm saying there. Anyway, they look like the French do, and I think there's some story about that they decided one night after a few too many drinks that wasn't a bad idea, Ken.
I think Onslow are in the socks. Athletic are in the jersey and the blue.
And Karori through the tunnel.
So Tuhaka looking for Henderson. It's loose coming back on the Western Suburbs side. Under a bit of pressure, West try to get something going on the edge of the ruck and maul area there. Thinking about a pick and go. But it's untidy. Leighton. Mark Fatialofa gets a cutout ball. Goes against the sliding defence of Poneke. Is hit just behind the advantage line. Now Arkoi for Leighton. Leighton changes direction. Looking for the right boot of Toby Robson. He pushes up the right-hand lane and kicks it out on the full.
Yes, again off the side of the boot of Toby Robson, and quite brave stuff for West. They're tossing the ball around well into their own half. Maybe they've figured that they've got to get some more points on the board if they're going to win this game.
So Vakalaloma at the back. It's Richard Watt jumping at 4 in the line out. Now the drive coming from Poneke. That's a high percentage play. Significant ball winner. And good organised drive from Poneke. They picked up 15 metres on the drive. Now Ogden gives off a short ball. Lokeni coming from the wing. Big man for a winger. Gets rid of the tackle of Philo Tiatia. Young back for Ogden. Has another go for a drop kick. And yes, there it is. That's a big play and a big return for Poneke.
Certainly is. And in the context of the score, of course, it puts them in front 6 points to 5. And the nature of the game will change from here. Wests have to look to score points.
So now 6 points to 5. Leighton with a long start. Vakalaloma underneath it. Gets the ball. 4 West defenders at the same time. So it's slow coming back for Graham Young, the halfback. Ogden got a good win. Good metres. Just short of the half. That's a good play.
He certainly is, and Poneke just content to plug back to get that field position, which they've got the advantage of the win, so they can certainly play. Interesting tactic to look for the dropped goal. It's been pretty successful over the years, have employed well, but nonetheless early in the game in terms of looking for it. But 3 points is 3 points, Ken.
Yeah, they lead by 6 points to 5. They wouldn't care how they win as long as they win, whether it's West or Poneke. Now Leighton, short ball for Dwayne Russell. He gives a short ball for Fatialofa over the advantage line, the big centre. They work well in midfield, Russell and Fatialofa. Now they've got the advantage. Leighton has a look down the right-hand side, grabs the ball along the ground. Richard Watt in cover, but we're coming back for the penalty.
He is just a little too far out, I would imagine, for Scotty Leighton. He did not kick well in the first half, missed 3 opportunities, a couple of them reasonably handy. So they'll look to plug it up the sideline and get the line out. But Wests have not enjoyed any field position in this half to date.
Set play, Skinner coming from the left wing for Western Suburbs. Now the little grubber along the ground for himself. Poneke go back and scramble. Nice bit of inventive and creative play from Western Suburbs. But they've made a penalty, and this young winger, Steve Skinner, on the left-hand side. He has been a kid identified recently with tremendous potential, and he's a great talent, Steve Skinner.
Yeah, that was a great run, wasn't it? It's not usual, really, to see a set move from a penalty. Usually you look for the sideline, look for the line-out, but their line-out's been very messy in this game. So innovative stuff and well executed by Skinner. I suppose you can argue whether he should have kicked it or retained it, but hindsight's a wonderful science.
It's the perfect sign. Richard Watt, very valuable contribution from the captain in the ball-winning stakes for Poneke. Steve Walsh, one of our most respected referees, the quick tap. Tanner, been very prominent, the 2 front rowers for Poneke going forward. The quick release, Ogden can't take it cleanly, knocks it on. And Western Suburbs.
Yes, Tanner, that was a good run by Tanner, Ken, and he made some good meters there, but and won the ball very cleanly, Poneke, but Ogden knocking the ball on has lost that opportunity.
Star Akoi, the scrums go down. Just take a moment to acknowledge the other teams in the Jubilee Cup this year. Marist and Pat's, a wonderful club, didn't make the playoffs. Hutt Old Boys, Marist, Northern United and Upper Hutt, along with Poneke West, Avalon and Harlequins, complete this year's top 8 in the Jubilee Cup. And of course, John, the big omission, Petone, didn't make the playoffs.
Yes, they were smarting a bit over that lot, Ken. In fact, I was at a dinner out at Eastbourne, and 1 or 2 Petone representatives made themselves known. I said, are you representing the Hardham Cup, you people, these days, or what?
Yes, and Petone, Johnsonville, Wellington and Tawa in the Hardham Cup section, which of course is a reward for coming 9th. And Poneke were like a runaway train. If you just joined our coverage of the 1996 final, they scored 678 points in the round robin. Petone, just reminding everybody that they don't belong in the Hardham Cup. It's Poneke inside their own half, and another unforced error from Ogden.
They certainly don't belong there, and one only has to look at the records. While I laugh at them, and some other clubs around Wellington probably relieved that they have had the odd setback, but they've got a wonderful record, Petone. They really have. And the thing I like about Petone and Poneke, Ken, is they've always maintained their traditional look. I think the only thing that's changed about Poneke, they did used to wear white shorts as opposed to the all red, but I think we can forgive them on that count.
You're right, John, to allude to the history and legacy of the clubs and the people involved in those clubs over the years that have underpinned the way that the game has developed and progressed to what it is today. Fatialofa dummies to himself, tries to push off one defender, gets around the outside. Fatialofa now tries a short ball back on the inside for Skinner. Pressure now for the Poneke defence as the Western Suburbs players arrive in numbers. The ball is slow at the back now. Akoi, flat ball for Scott Leighton. Steps off his right foot, gets away from a couple of defenders. Now the Western Suburbs players arrive. Good position, about 7 out. Akoi with the pick and drive. Good play from West. Great field position, and they've got possession.
Well, the best movement really of the game for West. They strung it together, forwards and backs there. Fatialofa made some good meters, Skinner, and then the forwards were there in a hurry to win the ball. So a good effort all round, good combination, good team effort. and they've won the opportunity here just a few metres out from the Poneke line.
A great opportunity for Western Suburbs, who have some attacking prowess right across the park. Filo Tiatia holds the ball in the back. Big question for the Poneke defence.
Yes, the scrum's gone down, and that West back line is dangerous if they can get some ball.
Tiatia, the pick and go over the advantage line by a metre. They need quick ball, Western Suburbs. Akoi to the left finds Skinner standing a long way behind the advantage line, and the tackle by Mornanu in the end is an easy one. Well, that's a pretty ordinary finish.
Yes, I'm not quite sure whether the backs on the right-hand side would have fully approved with that move. Skinner was on his own on the left, had a huge blind, but he didn't have any support whatsoever. And by being forced out, that's given Poneke the opportunity to win the ball back and clear.
So Young, this contest with Akoi has been a feature. The two standout halfbacks in club rugby in 1996. And two outstanding forward packs.
There's a couple of good scrums from West. They have applied the pressure.
Well, that's Western Suburbs' best scrum of the game. Hemi Poe slapping the boys. Leota is on.
Yes, it's a good turnaround because Poneke really looked the dominant scrum in the first half, but there's some fairly solid names in that West's lineup. And they're showing a bit of muscle here, which is excellent.
Yeah, none more so than Phil Proctor, the captain. Front rows go down. Ball is at the feet of Filo Tiatia. Now Akoi, Leighton runs across, gives the ball to Skinner again on a set play. Fatialofa, this time the decoy runner. There's an advantage with Western Suburbs. Now the penalty.
Well, a very handy spot for West here, and Scotty Leighton, under normal circumstances, you can't imagine that he'd miss this, but it's got to go over before you can put the points up.
Unsuccessful from three. He won't get a better position. And finally, some success for Scotty Leighton, so the score changes again. 8 points to 6, West.
It's a very tight one, isn't it? This is classic final stuff and worthy of the name. So Wests have got the lead. Poneke have to score again to take this game. But a very good concerted 5 minutes from West. They some good moves backwards, back and forwards.
Ogden long for the right-hand corner. Akoi with the clearance. Vakalaloma with a little reminder that he was on him.
There's always a little calling card from time to time, but why not? That's the game. It's been a fair old contest up front. We've seen some good work. The front rowers on both sides have been dominant.
Tuhaka for Watt. Outstanding individual performance from Watt. At line out time, now the ball worked to the back. Murray Henderson in support. Now the ball goes to the ground. That West player's offside. No call from Steve Walsh. Now Ogden thinking about another drop goal. Ogden in pretty good position. And what about that?
It's worked well for them, hasn't it, Ogden? And they're straight down the middle. First time back in the West's half, and they've snaffled 3 points and the lead.
Well, they've got the field position, they've got the possession, and while they've been there, they've got the points. And John Jackson, he's been tremendous for Poneke today at the back. Ogden has been very smart and very clever, with a nice variation between using their big men going forward and their backs out wide.
Yeah, good effort from Poneke. And Wests have looked like a side that at any time can break you open, but there's a lot of messy stuff in the middle of it. They'll be frustrated by this.
Carter throwing long and won by Drehana. Now Leighton with a little show and go back on the inside. Gives it for Dunshay. Now they go the left. Tiatia with a catch and pass. Hemi Poe goes hard at the Poneke defence. Akoi. Steve Skinner looking for some work. Dunshay does well. They work it back amongst the big men. Phil Proctor is in there. Hemi Poe is in there as well. Filo Tiatia available. just on the right. Akoi goes looking for the ball. Can't handle.
Gee, that's frustrating stuff, isn't it, for West? They, as you say, Ken, the big men were doing some very good work in there. They got into an ideal position, won the ball 3 or 4 times, improved their position, and then a little knock on from Akoi.
A lot of interest surrounding this year's final between the two in-form sides. West 5-2 in the round robin. Poneke 6-1. The two best sides have made it through. Leighton again with a little show, but goes to the line himself. Akoi, pressure coming from Tuhaka. And he's ruling that he's had a great game. Tuhaka, the hooker, just that little touch there, preventing West from getting a clean play on the ball.
Well, he has been all over the place, and it's a sign of things to come, perhaps, for hookers and front rowers, but both front rows, as I said. But Tuhaka, along with Tui and Tanner in the front row for Poneke, have been very dominant.
Akoi, Leighton gets a low ball, cut out ball for Mark Fatialofa. Makes the ball back available on the inside for Russell. Now Leighton carries again. Good continuity of play from Western Suburbs. Good field position. Now Akoi with a pick and go. Offloads the ball for Penasini, the front rower. Now standing still from a start. Russell. Nice set play from Western Suburbs. Skinner gets a ball over the top. Starting to feel the pressure now, West. Now Poneke. Win the ball. And it's good work by that's more Nanu that stole that ball. Graham Young back for Ogden. He's got the win behind him. Just happy to get it down the other end.
That midfield from West looked dangerous, but they haven't seen enough of the ball from their point of view. Fatialofa and Russell in the midfield. When they get it, they look dangerous.
Dunshay at 2. Hemi Po tidies up. Now he gets over the advantage line. Graham Young with the tackle. Good meters going forward for Western Suburbs. Akoi short for Tia. Some hint of a forward pass, but no call from Walsh. Now the penalty. Hemi Po with the quick tap. Running at players inside the 10. Goes to the ground. Makes the ball available. Akoi been busy the last few minutes. Offloads the short ball. It's untidy. Now Henderson for Poneke. Hemi Tui. So just starting to lose their composure a little bit, Wes.
Yes, I think there's a bit of panic coming in, Ken, as the clock ticks away on them.
Young pushing up the right-hand lane and improving their field position. Wellington Lions coach Frank Walker had a bob each way on today's game. Television New Zealand commentator Keith Quinn picked West 26-16. Graham Moody from ZB picked Poneke 19-11. Wellington development coach Wayne Guppy picked Poneke. And Alan Hewson, one of our great All Blacks.
He didn't know.
Well, he had a bob each way. He said it'd be between Phil Proctor and Richard Watt, but I want to have a beer with both of them. Leighton steps inside the tackle of Shane McClure. Now Akoi has the dip down the blind side. Good run from the halfback in some space. Now the chip and chase. And some very good work and cover from Lokeni, the winger. The quick throw from Carter. And they've lost it. So they were going to get the throw at the line out anyway. Now Skinner been a bit more prominent in the second half. Long ball over the top, counter-attacking opportunity now for Western Suburbs. Shane Tia, the try scorer, gets away from a couple Poneke defenders, and a good scrambling tackle made by John Jackson. Very, very important tackle. Western Suburbs going to get the feed at the scrum. Akoi. Tia holds. Graham Young tried to hustle Tia on the wraparound. Ball's loose. Coming away on the Poneke side.
Well, a lot of urgency, as you can imagine, from West. That was a good period of play for them. A very good counter-attack. They were frustrated up the left-hand side. A clearance from Poneke, but saw West sweep up the grandstand side. But with Tia knocking that ball on, they've lost the put-in.
So Young, Peter Savalio, some tough players playing today in both these forward packs. That's reflected by their respective appearance in the final today. Poneke, and what a turnaround it has been for them. They scrambled in to the top 8, literally. They came into the top 8 in 8th place with 5 wins and 6 losses, and since making the Jubilee Cup playoffs, have been on a roll for 2 months. Can they continue and can they hold on? John Jackson standing on the left-hand side, kicks to the right-hand side down the centre of the park. Now Skinner looked good the last time he's carried the chip. It's a long one. John Jackson inside his own 20, taps it himself. It's a cheap shot from Skinner.
Yes, I don't know that's a good idea to chip the ball inside the opposition's 22, because it's such a great opportunity to mark the ball and slow the whole game down.
John Jackson, Jacko, very composed and very experienced player at the back. And he's had plenty of work to do and has been up to the task.
He certainly has, and he's done it pretty well. He's run with the ball, he's tackled well, his defence has been excellent. And that was a very good kick from inside his 22.
So now Poneke through Ogden, trying to put the ball behind Western Suburbs, and does well. Keep them inside their own quarter. Smart play.
Yeah, no, that's a good play, isn't it? Great field position, and you've got the lead. You want to hang on to it. You haven't got it by much. So it's a long way for West to score when they're sitting 10 metres out from their own line.
Here's a contrast to Poneke's qualification for the Jubilee Cup. Marison Pats, who won the Swindale Shield, qualified in first place, and then finished 5th at the end of the round robin of the Jubilee Cup. So, and they're a great side as well, great club, Marison Pats, but it's just been one of those seasons. Who would have thought that the winner of the Swindale Shield, John, wouldn't even make the Jubilee Cup playoffs?
Yeah, quite staggering, isn't it? And we've got West in trouble here with Scotty Layton being caught in possession.
So Western Suburbs, it's all hands on deck. They trail by 1. And in a season where Poneke found themselves in the ignominious position of being.
Yes. Well, I suppose it's all about
Cup playing Wainui at Wainui.
Yeah.
So Poneke, they'll be happy, John, to stay down this end of the park, maintain possession of the ball and run the clock down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They'll be very happy indeed. It's an awfully long way to score a try or score points from deep in your own half into the wind.
Tia, off the back, tough run, tough defence. Akoi loses the ball forward. Waiting for Steve Walsh to make the call, doesn't make the call. Tia with the pick and go. Tries to go inside the tackle of Tuhaka and does well. Goes to the ground, but the ball's slow. Now Hemi Po, taken by Peter Savalio. Now Western Suburbs losing the ball forward. They were trying to get some momentum going forward. Now Peter Savalio onto that loose ball. Ogden with a chip into the right-hand corner. Toby Robson going to let it roll into the in-goal and dead. Back to the 20 for the restart.
Yeah, the tactic's not a bad one, though, is it? It's certainly pinning West back. And they are starting to look like they're very frustrated. I think with that ball just coming out the back of the West ruck, there was a Poneke foot that crept up and assisted it from Akoi's hands, which is why Steve Walsh didn't rule a knock on.
So Akoi, so in fact with that ball going dead, with that recent rule change, we're back for the scrum. And 9 points to 8 with the best performing teams in the Jubilee Cup, and into the last quarter we're not able to separate yet these two teams. Front rows go down. Filo Tietia off the back and down the blind. Good tackle from Vakalaloma. Graham Young lends a hand now. Leighton, Dwayne Russell, cut out ball for Toby Robson. Mark Fatialoff on the wraparound. They're behind the advantage line, Western Suburbs. Now they've lost 10 metres on the play.
Jets desperation looking stuff from West, and now they've lost the ball as well, with Poneke in a very handy position just out from the 22.
So So John Jackson at second receiver shapes the kick, gets away from Dwayne Russell, offloads the ball one hand. Smart play from Poneke, happy to be down this end of the park. Toby Robson gets the ball back under some pressure, scragged by the Poneke defenders. Now he goes to the ground, but does enough to win the feed at the line out, feed at the scrum. Skinner hitting a tough tackle by Raw Petty, but they get the ball away. Tia down the right lane's had a great year. Away from Savaleo. Chips over the top of Jackson. Gets the ball back. Savaleo goes at him again and misses. Now the covered defence get there. Ball's loose coming back on the western suburb side. Now the scrum. Desperation.
Absolutely. Shane Tia certainly got some pace, Ken, down that right-hand touch. He made a lot of territory. But it did have a desperation look about it from West, so they started that move well inside their own 22. But I suppose when you're down by 1 point and the clock's against you, you've got to try something.
Phil Proctor, Philo Tia, getting the words from Steve Walsh. As Poneke can hear from their supporters, just happy.
The old Poneke principle.
Kick this, John.
Send a telegram.
Well, there'd be triumph at one level and tragedy at the other. And such are the implications for the winners and losers, respectively, in the big games.
Yes, there's no halfway mark. You're either totally elated or totally deflated. And
Hemi Poe beat Richard Watt in the year. But looks like numbers in the line-out. Steve Walsh has given a free kick to Poneke.
It's quite a tough one, that one, isn't it? Because it doesn't seem to have a lot to do with the outcome. But nonetheless, that's the rule.
Tanner straight into the meat of the Western Suburbs defence. Ball coming back on the ground. Richard Watt happy to keep the ball close. Use their big man, muscle up. The ball's been held up, so use it or lose it. Now Tia. Big man against big man, close to the contact area. Akui looks for the ball, and they do enough to win the scrum. The clock ticks away.
I just wonder if they're panicking a little bit, Ken, in the sense that when the clock is ticking away, you tend to be too anxious about it and not get set. Opportunity there with a penalty. However, they picked up the scrum put in, so I suppose it's not all bad.
They scored plenty of points in attack Western Suburbs during the Jubilee Cup. Fatialofa with a long flat ball for Skinner, forced to come off his left foot on the inside and take on the defence of Poneke. There's an advantage with Western Suburbs. So Tia for Leighton. Dwayne Russell, Fatialofa trying to get on the outside. Good tackle made by Tuiaviti. John Tanner was out there trying to wave something at Fatialofa, prop on a centre. He's kidding himself. Now the ball's coming back on the left-hand side. Akui runs flat back on the inside for Skinner. He stands, offloads in the tackle. Poneke get him to the ground. Now Akui back for Russell. Tough defence. Western Suburbs trying to be positive with the ball. They desperately need to get on that scoreboard. Akui puts a kick behind. And very well taken by Lokeni. Front of the main stand here at Athletic Park. Poneke. Savaleo in a big game, the number 8. Ball slow coming back on the West, on the Poneke side. West keen to put some pressure on Poneke. Graham Young waits. Steve Walsh orders the reset.
Yes, that's very much in Poneke's favour, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with a reset when you're ahead on the board, and there's very few minutes to go.
So Poneke working hard. It's gone around to the open side. There's a boot on it from Reihana. Poneke have lost half a metre on the play, but they still have the ball under control, only just. Tuaka down the blind, puts a little grubber in.
He's just showing he's got all the skills, Ken. Number 2 on his back, but a nice little grubber. Good sensible stuff though, keeping it tight down the blind side, into touch, chew up a bit more time.
Well, Poneke, they're just happy to play in this half. And if West have got it, well, they have to go for it. So all the pressure now with Western Suburbs. Important win from Rehana, jumping in the middle of the line out for West. Arkoi gets the ball and some pressure. There's an advantage. This is exactly what Poneke want.
Absolutely.
Slow, run the clock down, set piece.
Yes, the more the better, and it's still a long way to the try line for West. They haven't been up there for some time. Poneke have enjoyed good field position the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Western Suburbs, they were second at the end of the Swindale Shield, second at the end of the Jubilee Cup round robin, have been an informed side throughout the season. Poneke, they were the bottom place qualifier for the Jubilee Cup this year. It's been a hell of a ride. Now they've got the feed at the scrum and they've got field position.
Yeah, right out in front of the post, on the 10-metre mark, sure, but they're pointing in the right direction. They've got the ball. Yes, there's been some wonderful Jubilee Cup matches over the season. Some great clubs. Interesting how the fortunes have changed, but as they say, when it comes to the money end of the season, that's when it counts.
Savaleo, you'd be happy to hold that ball in the back for 4 months while the clock ticks away. Graham Young, he's in no hurry to get it.
No.
He's saying, you keep it, brother. Hold it in there while that time ticks away. Good control. Now Savaleo, no mistake footy, picks it up, goes forward, only half a metre. Ogden might think about another drop kick, or they might just keep it amongst the forwards. John Jackson running back, stops on the spot. A midfield bomb, the ball, Lokini.
Well, they're starting to look at their clocks there, Ken. I think Wests, they just haven't got an answer for this at the moment.
So the pressure on Western Suburbs as we're now in referee's time in the 1996 Jubilee Cup final here at Athletic Park in Wellington between two wonderful clubs. Now Leighton inside his own half. Skinnon's been busy now in error. And the ball has gone forward. Another Poneke scrum.
Yes, the centre of attention is Steve Walsh now with the time up. But Poneke, West desperate there as you can imagine. But Poneke get the put in and they'll just keep it tight.
So Young. Another turn on the scrum. Steve Walsh gives the feed again to Poneke. And that's singing as the Poneke supporters in the background, sensing that they are on the verge of a fantastic end to what has been a fantastic ride for the club in 1996. Peter Savaleo holding that ball, the front row again, the scrum turns. Steve Walsh gives him the third scrum. Well, what control, what composure.
It's great, isn't it? It's great, it's great. This scrum could be one of the longest scrums in history, couldn't it?
All they'll remember is who won.
That's right, mess up the start off too, so we have to reset it.
Force another reset. Well, what a contest it's been with the foundation laid by both forward packs. And some missed opportunities by Leighton, only one success from 4 kicks at goal. And 3 from 6 for Ogden. And looking to roll that ball out. And it's gone out on the forward. There it is. Poneke celebrate as Steve Walsh blows full time. The 1996 Jubilee Cup champions, Poneke.
Yeah, wonderful win to Poneke. Great old club in Wellington, and their supporters stream onto the field, and it's great to see. But Wests, they made a real good contest of it. I think probably the Poneke forward pack at the end of the day, Ken, laid the platform for this great win, but a tight, good, fitting Jubilee Cup final.
Well, they were 5 wins and 6 losses, 22 points, qualified at the end of the Swindale Shield for the Jubilee Cup in the lowly position of 8th, Poneke. Most thought that they would just make up the numbers, but the last couple of months, as their captain Richard Watt held aloft by the players, 6 wins and just 1 loss, 24 championship points, qualified in first place. A big win, 23-13, and an important one last week against Harlequins, and a very commanding, very dominant performance from their forwards today in the final.
Yes, fitting that they should lift Richard Watt aloft. He's played a huge part in the lineouts. He was particularly strong. And the celebrations start, and they'll move on, I suppose, Ken, and the lights will be on in Kilburnie tonight at the Poneke Club Rooms. But they can enjoy it, and another great chapter is written, of course, in a great club.
They certainly were. Well, there they are, the 1996 Wellington Club Rugby champions, Poneke. Arkui, Leighton, Dwayne Russell, runs over the top of Ogden, runs past a couple of defenders, now tries to step on Mornanu. Cover defence, a desperate tackle. John Jackson involved, the ball loose out to the left-hand side, but there's a whistle. Gee, Western Suburbs, they were a big chance.
Oh, yes, it seemed to be. It was all over bar the shouting, Ken. But wonderful defensive work from Poneke, how they got back there. Dwayne Russell just seemed to waltz through the defence in the early stages, but a chance gone big. I'm sure that's how West will look at that.
Pressure scrum for Poneke. Spent almost the entire half inside their own half. John Jackson comfortably off the right boot, improves the field position.
Yes, Poneke have gone to their forwards. Every time they've gone to their backs, although there's been one or two good runs, that's quite rare that they've got over the advantage line, so one can well imagine why they're keeping it in the forwards when they can.
So time ticks away to the end of the first half. Cedric Carter looking for Hemi Poe, jumping at 4. Now Leighton gets a short ball. Fatia Lofa at midfield. Shows, goes, and then hit just behind the advantage line by the Poneke defence. And that loses the ball.
Yeah, that's bad news for West, isn't it? A wonderful attacking position, had the ball, and Poneke forwards held him up. So the turnover, and Poneke have a chance to sneak out of trouble.
Graham Young. Philo Tietia on your left, an outstanding player.
He's a big unit, isn't he? Philo Tietia.
Peter Savalio, the number 8 for Poneke. Shane McClure and Vakalaloma. Not a big back three height-wise. In fact, West have got them for size, but a hard-working trio, John.
Absolutely, and they've been very well supported. Well, they've been supporting their tight forwards, who've done particularly well in this first half to date. Frustrating half for West. They've had a couple of opportunities where they've broken Poneke wide open, but they just haven't been able to finish. But a real tight contest, as you'd expect in a final.
Yeah, well, we all know a lot of great players who never had the chance to play in a final and would dearly love to have. Poneke, good play from Poneke off a West throw, and some good powerful